Howdy folks, welcome once again to 3F Outdoors TV. I'm Corey.
This is Jacob, and this week we're talking about my October 25th 8-point kill in Sparta, Georgia.
Alright guys, this is Jacob here with 3F Outdoors TV. I'm here in Sparta, Georgia at JTJ Farms with Mike Brest. It's the weekend of October 25th to October 27th. It's a very cold week so far. Today it's a high of 59 and get down to 30 degrees tonight, so tomorrow morning's going to be really cold and it's going to be really good moving. Hopefully the deer are moving. I'm sitting in a stand right now that Corey loves. It's his lock-on stand. No one's hunted it so far this year, and I think I'm going to stick with it all weekend, hopefully catch a big one. Crossing the draw. It's a really thick draw. My father's shot is 30 yards. I can probably only see 40 yards, so if it comes in, it's going to be quick, and I hope I can get it on camera. If I can't, I'm sorry, but if it's a big one, I'm not going to wait to get it on camera. I'll try my hardest. But Peyton went home this weekend to Rabun County, and Corey's in Athens hunting redlands with his girlfriend Liz, and hopefully it'll be a good weekend. And our buddy Ronnie Williams killed a nice 8-pointer this morning down by Soperton, so wish him thanks and everything for submitting his photo to our page, and congrats to him, and let's see how it goes, y'all. I'll get back to you soon.
Guys, this week Jacob killed his deer like he said on the lock-on. This stand is a stand of mine. It's situated on the very far back left corner of the property. If it was laid out like a rectangle, it's in off the edge of left field. It's up a big draw. And it's just a little finger land that we have that goes up, and it's oaks surrounded by pines, and I thought it was a great looking spot. And Jacob was actually the first one to hunt out this year, and it turned out real nice for him. I mean, it was not the biggest buck, but definitely a pretty deer, and I'm gonna let him tell y'all some more about how that stand's laid out up in the draw.
So that stand, you walk up the draw, and in the middle of the draw there's the creek, and the creek splits the draw directly right in half, and we're about halfway up the draw in a tree that's growing up in the middle of the creek, and behind us I have 2 trees, and beside me I have another tree, so I'm well blended in. I'm probably what, 15, 16 feet up?
I think it's 16 feet off the ground.
And so to our left we're facing perpendicular to the draw, and to my left I have 2 shooting lanes, one off my shoulder and one off in front of my shoulder. And below me, I have the trail we walk up. That's a shooting lane that goes back down to the field that we talked about a second ago. And we have one off our right shoulder about 5 o'clock. That's probably a 6-yard shot into the thicket, just in case something comes behind us. And the first deer that came out, as you'll see, is an 8-pointer that walked away. I was sitting there, and I was probably around 4:30 in.
I guess when you texted me, because
and I texted Corey about it actually, and I kept hearing deer walking around me, and it's a really windy day, so I knew it had to be a big deer if I could hear it through the wind. And I heard him growl a couple times, and I didn't get that part on camera, y'all. It came out of nowhere. I wasn't ready for it. And I immediately picked up my grunt tube and I grunted at him and I growled back at him, and I immediately he was coming right on at me. And so I flipped the camera around, turned it on for y'all, and you'll see how he comes out from my right, coming towards me about 15 yards. And you'll hear him move in the video. And that's me moving to get my right-handed shot because I knew it was a big deer. I want to make an ethical shot with my right-handed because that's what I usually use. And I turned and the grunt tube fell off my lap and it started swinging. And the sun was pointing right towards him, so he saw my shadow of my grunt tube going across his face. I could see it happening. And
I don't know what happened, man.
He
was gonna walk right out in the shooting lane, and
he just turned around and
you
trotted off.
You can see him. He just kind of walked, moseys on off, out into the field and on down into the creek bottom as far as we could tell.
And so I cut the camera off, and I sat back down, and I was texting Corey and Peyton, and I was just extremely mad. You know, I would have been easily, I think, a 120 or 130 inch buck. I think it's the one we have on camera, and he's definitely a 4.5-year-old 8-pointer.
Hi guys, this is Jacob here with 3F Outdoors TV. I'm sitting here in the lock-on stand, the farthest point of the property. I got here about 2:30 in the afternoon, sitting here real windy, and all of a sudden the wind just died, and I heard a buck growl, and I grunted, and to my right, about 30 yards, he came in, and I turned, and my grunt tube fell, and he saw it and turned away. I was really bummed out, and then I heard him growling some more, and I kept grunting, and nothing happened, and now at 6:55, 6:50, about an hour later, I had a buck come up on my left, down the draw. I'm sorry I didn't have time to get the camera turned around, guys, but he's big, and I'll get some pictures from y'all later. But yeah, tagged out in Georgia, baby. No more buck tags. That's what I'm talking about. Maybe when I go to my family land, Corey and Peyton can tag a big buck. Y'all stay tuned for pictures and video.
And I was already down. You know, I said to myself, this is probably some pesky doe, some probably young spike or something, and I'm not going to turn the camera around. Well, sure enough, it got close enough to where I turned, and it was this 8-pointer standing 40 yards from me walking down the middle of the creek. And when I saw him, he was tilted back because he was walking up the side of the creek. I thought he was taller. I thought he went up more and then started curving. And so I immediately said, okay, this is a good deer. He's dark. And I stopped looking at my antlers because, you know, you look at your antlers, you're going to get shaky. You're going to get shaky. And I said, you stop looking at the antlers, look at the body, age him real quick, and determined. And I aged him to be 3.5, 4.5 on the hoof. And it turns out, after field dressing him, he was a 4.5-year-old buck. It was a great management buck. He was not going to get any bigger than this, and he was inferior. And so he stepped up out of the draw, and he turned facing straight at me, and he looked up at me, and so I put it right in his chest. I pulled the trigger, and he hit the ground. So I went to get the camera, and then he took off, and so I heard him crash. And then you'll see from the video, the aftershot video, right after this. Alright guys, this is Jacob here with 3F Outdoors TV. Tonight, October 25th, I was hunting a stand, lock-on stand, and I had a buck come out around 5 o'clock, and he was growling and everything. I blew my grunt tube, and he came out, and I moved too early, and he saw me, and he took off. And so I was sitting there, and I kept hearing him growling. Finally things got quiet around 6:50. Heard some running coming down the draw towards me, and looked up, and I saw his right side, and I thought it was taller than this. And so I immediately stopped looking at his antlers. I looked at his body side, and I saw how big it was, so I confirmed that it was a big deer. And I didn't even look at his antlers again. And I shot, and no blood trail, and bullet entered right here, and it's probably lodged somewhere back up in here, probably right here, I think. And yeah, I went back to the house and everything, and this is what I got left. It's smaller than my bow kill, but not proud about it. But hey, I'm proud about anything actually, because it's still a good deer, and he is just huge. He is probably easily 200 pounds. It's a good 2.5, 3.5-year-old deer, and actually look at his hocks aren't even black yet, so they're nowhere close to the rut yet, and this is really weird for Georgia. I think the rain this year had something to do with it, and so I'm gonna get skinned out here, and I'll get official measurements sometime later this week, and I'll give you a field dressed weight at the processor later on.
You know, he was a little disappointed. I remember him after he found the deer. He thought it was a lot bigger than it turned out to be, but overall, it was a great management buck, because this is one of Jacob's QDMA properties, and I'm starting to help him manage it as long as the property owner. We've got some really good bucks on camera, and this was just a good cull buck to take out of the herd.
It was.
And it, you know, it ended out on the plus side, because even if he was smaller, he was still an old buck, and he wasn't in rut, and every other deer was in rut, and he was just not going to get any bigger in size, and it was just a real good management deer.
It was. Talking about being in rut, you'll see from the video I pointed out his hocks, but the camera didn't catch it. His hocks were the color of his skin. They weren't peed on, they did not smell. This is October 25th. This should be the rut. This should be the middle of the rut, and he's not peed on his hocks yet, and so that's what made me think that, even confirmed my theory that he was an older buck, is because he wasn't in rut yet. I don't know what happened. It could be the rain from this year, y'all. It could be a number of factors. I read a number of magazines, and no one can pinpoint the reason why the rut was so late this year. It surely affected us.
Yeah, well, I remember what you said with that deer, as well as when he took him to the processor to keep him at cooler down there. I think there was, what, 15 other bucks there?
Yeah.
At least 15 other bucks, and all of them had black hawks. You know, they'd been peed on, and they were rutting real heavy. And
there are even spikes and four-pointers who had peed on hawks. They were smelled horrible, and my deer was the only deer that night that did not have pea-stained hocks. And the processors thought that was really weird. The hunters I talked to said that they were seeing chasing activity, and I don't know why the deer wasn't chasing. You know?
I guess he just either he wasn't gonna breed anymore, or sterile or something. Who knows? But
who knows? But
all in all, it was a good deer, and you guys will watch the video, and we have some on tape. And
I'm Jacob.
This is Corey.
You've been watching 3F Outdoors TV.
Faith,
family,
and friends.
A little chilly out here.